In 1965, we had an adapted swimming program for children and adults with various developmental disabilities. I was now working on my PhD in health, physical education and recreation, and in special education and education in general. So I saw how this water was helping children and adults with disabilities. And one of my first ones was John Paul Price. He was 7 months old. All he could do is turn his head from side to side. And when I put him in the water and I put my finger under the nape of his neck, his arms went out, his legs started moving, and you could see enlightenment. You know, as Benedictines, Saint Benedict, you know, was at the fall of the Roman Empire. And there was no stability, no order, no peace at all in society. And so he just very simply, you know, developed his rule, and whatever was needed, what society was either unwilling or unable to do, St. Benedict jumped in there. In other words, St. Benedict is always looking at, you know, hospitality, huh? So being grateful for what you have the presence of God in the monastic community of peace. If you walk in our door, the first word you see is P-A-X, Pax, Pax, or peace. If peace rules, societies unite. So I came in 1950 as a high school student, and the big reason I wanted to be a Maryknoll missionary priest. That was in my mind. In 1955, I graduated from the two-year college, and now I had to make the decision, and I thought, well, this isn't too bad. It's contemplative, but we're doing things while we're praying, you know, and it's all one, you know, it's our life. It's not like I have to do this, now I have to do this. And so then I decided to stay here.
Father Paul came to see me, I think it was in early April, with this idea of having some type of a gathering where families could come together, and families from all over Oklahoma of every cultural background. And they could have some music, they could share some food, they could dance together, and they could feel like people around the world have a lot in common with one another. It's basically at the heart of his Child Development Center, and also at the heart of all of his activities. We know that he is a very special man. He is a man with a very good heart who has a real feeling for families. And I've been especially happy that the families that he works with are of every cultural background. You know, he doesn't really think about where they're from.
One of my first students in the Kickapoo Home Start Project was Moto. And Moto was 8 years old, literally like a sack of feed, hardly any muscle control. Well, we got him on solid food, got him to a point where he not only would sit in a wheelchair, but he would sometimes get out of the wheelchair and push other people. Well, Father Dennis had a horse. The only thing he could say was his own, you know. We got the vow of poverty and all these kind of things. And I said, Father Dennis, could I use that horse for my camp program with Native American children? Yeah, I'll bring him out. So we put Moto on. Of course, Moto, he just falls down, and he's literally, it feels so good for him, he's drooling on the mane of the horse. And Father Dennis looked, can't you make him sit up straight on that horse, you know? So I go up and said, Moto, and I push his shoulders, and you should be proud, you're on a horse, you know? And then he went around the circle and made it all the way. And here he is, he was bobbing and weaving, but he was straight up. And I looked at Father Dennis, and tears were rolling into his beard. He said, you need to have indoor arena so you can have horseback riding in winter, summer, and when it rains. He built that on his own. I didn't even show up for the dedication. It was hard on my fundraising, but it was worth it. And so there's my air program, horses. So I'm founder and director of the National Institute on Developmental Delays. And the National Institute on Developmental Delays has the mission to reach all children and their families worldwide.